Good afternoon. If you hear church bells and fire department, it must be noon on Wednesday, March 26th. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. There are 280 days left to 2025. In attendance, we have Francie, Greg, Patty, and myself, Jeffrey. From staff, we have John and Abby, and Allison may be back joining us, and then Jay with Grassroots, so thank you so much. This is the regularly scheduled meeting. Any additions or deletions to today's agenda?
There are no additions or deletions to the agenda.
We're almost done. Cool. Public comments unrelated to today's agenda items. Wonderful. If you would state your name, and we would love for you to speak for 3 minutes or less, and then I will interrupt you.
Sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. For the record, my name is Toni Kronberg, and I just wanted to bring up two things. The first one is, you probably read in the paper the excellent article about the mobile home parks with that are for sale down in Carbondale and also in Basalt. And one of the questions that I have is, if most of the residents within those parks work in Picken County, Snowmass, Aspen, Basalt, Picken County. And if they do, I would hope that the governments would get together and purchase these two affordable housing mobile home parks, because if not, we would probably have what's known as an ethnic cleansing in Basalt and Carbondale because of the zoning that's on those two properties right now. But I would really hate to see that workforce get displaced. So hopefully Picken County will get together with Snowmass, Basalt, and Aspen, pull together the $42 million that's needed, and purchase these two properties. Then the second thing is, as we all know, referendum 2 passed, and that's a really good thing. It was really brilliant, and the beauty of it passing is that the ballot language included in it that if any future EIS is done, that the land that is ceded to CDOT that they have permission to use, that a new EIS would be included in that. As you know, when I ran for Picken County Commissioner, my only focus was Highway 82 and from Aspen all the way down to Emma Curves. Right now, the City of Aspen is conducting a survey, and you can go online to do it, and it's called, let's see, where is it? City of Aspen launches Highway 82 West to Aspen Transportation Needs Study. Right now, if you read all the letters to the editor, everyone is focusing on solutions, and we're not at that point right now. Doesn't make any difference which kind of solutions that people come up with. We have to convince CDOT, one, that conditions have changed, and that we have objectives, old objectives and new objectives, and that we have to formulate a means and purpose request to CDOT and the feds so that we'll open up a new environmental impact study. One of the reasons why I'm so passionate about it is that the preferred alternative is actually going to make things worse. And the reason why is we only have one bridge connecting to the roundabout. I've always been in favor of 2 bridges to the roundabout. The one bridge that goes...
You need to wrap up your comments.
Do I have 30 seconds?
You're at 3 minutes.
Oh, I thought we had 5, no?
We have 3 minutes.
Never had 5.
Oh, that must be Snowmass.
I don't
Sorry
know.
about that. And so just as basically my request, I'm gonna start coughing, is that people get onto the City of Aspen website and they figure out, they answer the questions in the survey, and the survey is called City of Aspen Launches Highway 82 West Aspen Transportation Needs Study.
Excellent.
But that's
Thank you
it.
for your comments,
Thank you
Toni.
so much, I appreciate it.
Public comment unrelated to today's agenda. Excellent. Commissioner comments
Do
unrelated.
we have anybody online?
We have 3 people online. Public, commissioner comments unrelated to today's agenda items.
It's a beautiful day outside, so let's get outside and enjoy it. How's that for comment?
Consent items, single read, minutes of the February 25th, BOSS, Board of Social Services, February 25th special meeting, and March 12th regular meeting.
And what about the 3 abatement
Sorry,
petitions?
and the 3 abatements, and Sam is in. Any questions on the 3 abatement hearings?
I'd be prepared to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
And I'll second, that includes all of the 3 abatement petitions included with the minutes.
Any boss or Sam questions? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Thanks, Greg.
We are unanimous. We're already up to Michael Port.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Sam. I just wanted to say Powder Bowl LLC. I can't believe we couldn't even read those.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Michael Port, Climate Action Analyst with the Manager's Office. I am pleased to be bringing you today an informal resolution to endorse our 2025 Climate Action Plan. We presented that to you back on March 11th, so I'm not going to go back in and present on it again, but just wanted to address some of the feedback that you had at that meeting first, and then just leave off with asking for your endorsement and any questions that you may have on it. Some of the feedback was that you requested a few tweaks to the natural resource management section, which we made those corrections. We also discussed that we need to bring a work session forward in the future to revisit our climate action goals, to talk about if we want to accelerate them to be in line with the Paris Climate Agreement, which we will do that with you. And also there was some question about what kind of larger policy actions could the county take to beyond the climate action plan to have a really high impact with our carbon emissions, which we'll bring all those to you in a future meeting. But just to recap this plan that we have for you, it represents almost a year of work with many different departments and staff from the organization. So really a collaborative effort with the entire organization. We believe it provides a framework for embedding our climate action goals across our organization, and also supports us creating a resilient community. In the resolution, there's a number of different initiatives listed there that are already occurring, that were spurred on by the climate action goals and our previous climate action plan. So we really intend to support those initiatives, accelerate them where we can, provide resources and support to make sure they keep going, and build and add to this list. So this is a living document. We'll definitely continue to add as we learn more about leading climate action from our organization. Finally, I just want to end with a quote that speaks to the moment we find ourselves in. I'm curious how this might land for you, but this is from our conservationist president, Teddy Roosevelt, who said that we should do what you can with what you have where you are. I think climate action is clearly important to our organization. There's a number of other really important community issues that we're talking about now as well, but this climate action plan is our commitment to continue plugging away at climate action as one of our core issues in Pickens County. So very excited to continue the work over the next 5 years. So with that, I'll ask if there's any questions or other feedback.
Questions for Michael? Greg?
From a practical standpoint, how will we respond when we determine that we're not meeting goals? Like, I can assume we're not going to meet all our goals. You know, it's like super ambitious.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's necessary and we have to do it, but the protocol are, in place for, what do we do when we have to pivot or, reset, or what do you have on that?
Yeah, well, we are engaged in a number of different really kind of cutting edge projects, I would say, with our facilities electrification, with the SAF feasibility study, with the Vision 2050 project. I'm really interested to wait and see what those can bring us in terms of the impact that we have on climate. I think, we will do what we can with what we have where we are when we learn that, given the resource constraints and other issues that we have. But I think climate is something, and resiliency is something that we can embed into pretty much everything that we do at the county. So even if we're off target of those climate goals, we can still make incremental improvements over time that are in the right direction.
Right, if I could follow up on that.
Please.
Just that, I think we also may discover new ways of making a difference, whether it's engaging the public, whether it's something regarding the bus service or transit, or promoting electrification, throughout the entire community. We may find ways to actually have a bigger impact on an easy one. There might be some cream to be skimmed that may not be so difficult as some of the more expensive as some other things. So
Certainly.
it'll be interesting to see. I was going to say, Bill McKibben said, find the biggest lever you can and push like hell on it, right?
Right.
Something to that effect. And then the other one is E.O. Wilson, who said, we cannot afford to be anything but optimistic. So I'm going to keep the Teddy Roosevelt one along those.
Great.
With those.
Thank you. Yeah,
Amory,
but I
last one.
agree on the bigger policy questions. I think, from the greenhouse gas report, a lot of the things that we're starting to see as the major sources of emissions are in the kind of transportation and waste sector, which are more of regional issues that we can't just address them in a silo. So I think that's future conversations with more regional lens, especially.
Great, thank you. Glad you're doing it.
Francie.
Thanks for all your work on this, Michael. I really appreciate it. And I just want you to know I've been working on environmental issues since about 1968. And it's really incredible to be in a position to actually affect something. So I appreciate your work on this a lot.
Thank
and with
you.
that, I'll make a motion
So,
to approve the resolution adopting the Pitkin County Climate Action Plan.
I'll second that.
I have a question.
further
On,
discussion, Patty.
Just on process. This is a one reading. Do we have a public hearing?
If it's an informal resolution, you do not have to have a
Okay.
public hearing.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. It just says resolution. I don't see informal, but I'll take that for,
Informally.
A formal resolution would require 2 readings, so if it's just a 1 reading, it's
we're
by.
good. Okay,
yep.
just want to make sure we're not gonna,
That was my intent. was
okay.
the informal.
And you know what? I appreciate your intent
From the horse's
greatly.
mouth right there.
Yeah.
And any further questions for Michael? Well, one quick question, Michael, sorry, under discussion. Do we need to include SAF for 2050 under the itemized list in the resolution, or anything else we should capture? And then part 2 of the question is, when do you see us coming in line with Paris?
I think we can update that list if it's of importance. We are doing that feasibility study for SAF, so maybe at the point where, I don't know if John wants to comment on that project, but.
Yeah, I think what we've committed to is to come back to the board with a feasibility study, both on feedstock, finances, and location for SAF. That project is just now underway. We are under contract with a firm that is beginning the feedstock analysis. I'd recommend that we review that feasibility before adding as a commitment in our plan.
Thank you.
Climate action plan. Yes, I had a blank
And
there, sorry.
Paris?
There was a 2-part question. Paris was the second part alignment.
Well, we were going to bring that as a separate process through probably Vision 2050, because we have some of these other planning processes occurring right now, whether it's appropriate to address that during that process. So we want to separate it out.
And then Greg.
I was just going to say, I happened to look out the window of an airplane in Frankfurt last week, and I saw a huge fuel tank that said SAF inside. And I guess it's been there quite a while, and we're going to assume they're it is SAF inside, but I'm thinking it's an airport that huge can make it work, like LAX is, I think, trying to do it as well. But I just wonder if the supply chain for the feedstock for SAF is different somehow, or if they're mining sources that we haven't contemplated out here in the sticks.
Well, we actually have engaged consultants that have done a lot of work in Europe and Canada and the United States. And so I think they're going to have a good view of that. The scope of our assessment does include a number of locally available sources, whether it be from agriculture, from forest byproduct, from municipal waste, and so all of those are being looked at. They all have their different challenges and scalability, and so they are looking at those full scopes.
I'm anticipating we're going to add old ski boots and ski clothing to the mix. Plastic ski clothing.
It is all organic in a way.
Oh, it might not be. Okay, thank you.
Further discussion for Michael.
Oh, I did have one last comment. On a more serious note, Coal Basin is a big question mark. You know, what we're actually going to be able to do up there is still a huge question. I think we're getting a grip on how much gas, fugitive methane is coming out of there, but it's not an easy solution because it's coming out in so many different sites. That's going to completely skew whatever we come up with in terms of a greenhouse gas budget, as it already has. It's so obvious in the budget. I just think we want to keep that in mind, and it's good that we're accounting for it. We should be accounting for everything. Once again, that's another big question mark. So, good luck to us with that.
Thank you. Yeah, looking forward to what Core and their partners can come up with as far as a solution for that, and we'll look at each source of emissions on its own as its own issue, I think.
Great, thanks.
Yep.
So there's a motion and a second on the table. The resolution is the Board of County Commissioners of Pitkin County, Colorado, adopting the Pitkin County 2025 Climate Action Plan. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye, thank
Thanks,
you.
Michael.
Michael, thank you.
Keep it up. Keep your chin up. Let's do this.
We got this.
So the second.
We got this.
Yeah, we're gonna solve it.
So individual consent items, individual consideration items. Cara Silvernagle.
Are we considering her?
I mean, Jeff isn't on. I don't think so. Oh, is he? Yeah. Oh, fantastic. No, Jeff Bear. Oh, sorry.
So this is a first reading of the Board of County Commissioners. At yesterday's work session, the Board of County Commissioners agreed to take public comment, even though it's a first read on this item. And that was in deference to folks that live down valley and would prefer to zoom in from the red stone.
Great. Well, to kick us off, I believe Jeff is able to join. He may or may not be traveling, so I'll kick it off. So following up from our discussion yesterday, so before you is a resolution to support a grant application for the Redstone Historical Society for the acquisition. I'm not going to get the name of that cottage correctly, so I'm just going to say cottage. Through the State Historical Fund. At the meeting yesterday, I think the board, you had 3 specific questions seeking clarifications. The first one was confirmation of the matching request for the basically the grant through History Colorado. We can confirm that it is for 25% of the total project cost. And while we don't necessarily have an answer on if it's an $825 total project cost or $550,000, I think in follow-up conversations with that Jeff has had with the owner, it would be our recommendation right now to assume that $825 because of IRS donation aspects that the owner is pursuing. So that's, I think, the first question. The second was about who would be the owner of the cottage, and I'm glad Jeff is here to speak to the Redstone Historical Society being the applicant and owner of the cottage. Jeff, do you want to jump in and say anything?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I talked to the owner last night and extensively this morning. He is, by the way, a retired attorney. And there were some questions about us accepting the property so he can get his tax credit or the tax benefits of making this donation. All is worked out. We do qualify under the IRS guidelines for him to make the donation to the Redstone Historical Society, and we're prepared to take that donation. And if there's any changes that the board would like, either now or down the road, we are very flexible with that. But we are prepared to take title as a historical society,
Okay. Thank,
To take title?
or to take ownership.
So anything further?
I think the third was about, so
This is directly related to that, may I?
So Patty, and then back to Carl. for
Yeah,
presentation.
just because of ownership. If we're gonna be contributing a significant amount of number, I think we need to have some play into this, maybe a covenant on the property that restricts its future sale without the county having some say or payback to the county funds. If we can use the park funds, which I think is probably your next point, but I think we still need to have some buy-in here from the county to cover our contribution of a significant amount of taxpayer dollars.
you teed me up great. What I was going to say is there's the question for the park dedication, and I think Jeff can speak to this too, of if the county would like some level of participation or covenant. I think that is something that we could have, as discussed yesterday, a follow-up conversation, and does not need to be decided today for the purposes of the resolution and the matching funds. But I believe Jeff can speak to that too, of willing to engage in those future conversations.
I think
Absolutely. We would welcome the participation and the county, so we're on board with that.
And I think we just as staff need some direction from the board. I think there are lots of different ways that if the board wanted the county's investment or interest protected, that we could do that. It could be an ownership question. It could be a first right of refusal and agreed purchase price, taking account of what we put in. There's lots of different ways that we could do that. But I think if the board wanted to give that direction, we could just come back with a few options.
I think we need, I myself think we need to do that to protect the amount of money we're being asked to put into this.
Agreed.
Third?
The third is there's a question about the park dedication fee. I think we asked, right, and we don't know if you are prepared to speak to that today, but that this would qualify for the use of the park dedication funds. Not to put you on the spot.
It's all right, we can talk about it. So what is the planned use of the property?
Becoming a museum.
It's gonna be a museum. So the parks, the exaction we used to have in the code was the park, recreation, and open space exaction. And the intent statement is that Pitkin County established a parks, recreation, open space program to ensure an ample supply of parks, recreation, open space to satisfy the needs of the residents and the visitors. So I suppose to the extent that a museum could be classified as recreation, then I think you would be able to fit it into the utilization of the fund. So I think you can do it if you would like.
Okay.
Jeff?
So Patty?
I am not sure about that. I would like to have a little more input. I don't see how you can classify a museum as recreation, maybe education, but not recreation. I just want to make sure that we're clean on the use of those funds that are sitting in that parks, recreation, and open space account.
So I've got Francie and then Greg.
I was thinking a classification of open space might be apt as well. I mean,
I'd have to look and see what a definition of open space is in our, and this goes on to say that let's see, it says, the exaction standards are based upon consideration of the Pickens County Comprehensive Plan and adopted Open Space and Trails Plan. I'm relatively confident that the museum use would not fit into the definition we currently have of open space. It's not open space. A museum is not open space.
but what about the building in Emma?
That was part of, so the Home Rule Charter and the Open Space Program guidelines was amended to allow for historic preservation as a component of a larger open space purchase. So if the open space program had been utilized simply to buy the open space or the Emma building, that would not have been permissible under the fund. The fact that it was a component of that purchase allows us to utilize open space dollars to maintain that building. But for like this particular project, you could not use open space dollars to maintain the museum.
But the bottom line is that you think that it's
I think you could utilize the prior exaction under this recreation definition to fit museum in there if you all believe that you have some discretion to exercise here as how you apply the term recreation, and it's fine for one commissioner to say, no, I don't think that a museum is some kind of recreational use, and for you all to disagree on that. Ultimately, you have a little bit of discretion as to how you utilize these dollars.
Okay.
Greg?
Jeff, can you tell me how big the lot is? It's a small house on a big lot, as I recall.
It's a larger lot than the normal lots in Redstone. We do have a survey. I don't have it in front of me, but there's, as you know and saw last year when we had the open house, there was quite a bit of space out front, and there's actually more space in back, although it's in its natural state. But we anticipate using the front for gatherings considering the weather and other functions similar to the open house we had last year.
Great, thanks. So we anticipate owning a share of the entire property is kind of what, or you're buying the entire property, including the land the house sits on. It includes the entire little park that it's on, is what
Correct.
I'm suggesting, is that it seemed big enough to me that you could say, hey, this is an important, piece of downtown Redstone. But that might just be a technical thing. I'm comfortable going ahead with this, and I think I've heard enough to be confident from what Raya's just said. But I do appreciate what Patty's bringing up here, and that we do need to make sure we're legal.
And the other point yesterday, was there any further conversation about operations and maintenance? So post-acquisition?
I think, Jeff, if you want to be able to speak to operation and maintenance of the facility.
Sure. We've talked about that, and our intentions, because we have a larger museum and we'll be manning it with docents, we think our donation base will increase significantly. We also have the rights from an artist who is since deceased, but his family has given us the rights to, he accomplished and did a number of pen and ink drawings of historic buildings throughout Redstone, and we have access to those to make and sell note cards. Also, we have access to books concerning the history of Redstone, and then functions that we may be able to charge for certain functions we have. We've done tours. We've gotten paid for that. When we were doing the castle tours, I, as one of the docents, or kind of ran that thing, I donated all my tips to the Historical Society. I don't think that'll be a big source because I believe the new owners are going to only do the limited tours. We have access to books out of print, which we might be able to get back into reprint. So, plus we have volunteers, and we get a pretty sizable donations. We had 3,000 people through the little space down there at the general store.
So So Jeff, I guess it was more of a real estate question. I guess the question for you was more as an agent. Is this sight unseen? Is this inspected property? Do we have $300,000 in deferred maintenance? Is the foundation secure? I mean, I know this is a grant request, but I'm just rolling the tape forward and remain concerned that we're buying a historic structure, and then the follow-on request is we need heating, cooling, humidity, we're a museum, et cetera.
Right. We intend to do an inspection, and fortunately, the owners have been meticulous in their maintenance of the property. So we don't anticipate any serious problems, and they know of nothing to bolster that thought. So we will go through, and yeah, we don't want to get involved in something that's going to be a big expense down the road.
Further questions for Jeff?
No.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Further questions, Greg?
My last one is, so how much time do we have to figure out the ownership arrangement, or what the county's stake is in this? We're thinking a couple months.
I think that, as Spiro shared yesterday, we would hear about this grant in the middle of June. I think, as Jeff can share, that's probably stretching some of the timeliness that the owner is looking for. So we, if directed, we would look to bring this back within the next couple of months before that grant decision would be made, or in line with that grant decision.
So we have time to sort that out.
Yes, I did talk to Spiro today. He said everything looks good. Those kind of things can be dealt with at a later date. So, and the owners, fortunately, I had a couple discussions since we met yesterday. They are still very, very committed to this, and kind of as a legacy for them. And so I outlined the dates that could be a little longer, what they had anticipated, and he said we will make that work. So they're very cooperative, and it sounds like, according to Spiro, we have time to make any adjustments like that over the period of time.
Patty?
Yeah, we have a second reading on this in 2 weeks. Do we want to move forward on second reading, or do we want to continue that out? Or, because I think it'll take some time to resolve the ownership issue and bring us back more clarity on information.
So my question is, what are you trying to resolve in that regard? If you are going to, so right now you're approving a grant, correct? At some point you're going to need to take some kind of action to accept some kind of interest in the property, whether that's an ownership interest or a covenant. Either way, you'll have to have a follow-up ordinance to do that. So you can approve the grant now if you would like, subject to the requirement that any future property interest, and I'm hearing you all giving direction to Kara to explore that and ensure that the investment you all are making is secured somehow, either through ownership of the property or a covenant. In my mind, a covenant makes the most sense, simply because that is something a framework we generally can work within, meaning other historically designated properties, we have an existing covenant for that we could use to modify for this particular circumstance. And that could secure your investment in the property that way. It could include a buyback provision if that's something you're interested in. I'm not sure. I guess there's no reason not to have that, but I'm happy to talk with Kara and Jeff about what that looks like. And ultimately, and I do see that Connie has her hand raised, and I'm not sure what that is about, but it's likely something budget related. So I think you can do that. I was just looking through the code for some other support for the particular utilization of the fund for this purpose. I do see there is no definition of museum in our land use code. I do see we have a definition of recreational building, which includes a structure that provides meeting space or clubhouse space for a community or neighborhood. I think this would probably cover that use to some extent. It does look like this would potentially fall under a recreational use as well as defined under our code. So I think there's some strong support in the code for it if you want to utilize it this way. The definition of park is a little bit less clear, but it also includes a passive recreational component to that. So it's possible that you could fit this under a recreational purpose as a park as well, although I think that more contemplates like what you would typically think of as a park. But to the extent a portion of this property, the back half of it, as Jeff was alluding to, is an area for people to walk and enjoy outside, that could be a component of a park aspect of this acquisition. So I think if you combine those things, the park and the recreational building component, I think you're squarely within your discretion to utilize the exaction for this particular purpose if you would like. And Carrie and I can certainly come up with a mechanism to secure the investment that's pretty straightforward and something you all do often for these types of structures.
Patty?
Yeah, I'm comfortable in moving it forward as far as the time frame for second reading even. As long as we know it, if it moves forward, they get the grant, then we would award the money. In other words, we keep the money until such time as, and then hopefully we'll have fine-tuned what kind of ownership or protection of our funding we want to come up with and approve. So I think that's what we need to do so they can move forward in getting this grant application submitted.
I agree with Patty.
Was that a first and a second?
Sure.
No? Yeah, I guess, yes. I like to make formal motions, not just
Let's do it
make a
because
comment.
I want
and
to
turn
try
it-
saying this thing. Can
I want you to do it. I want you to make the motion and I'll second. How's
I
that?
think it's an exciting thing to try to read. So this, I make a motion to approve the resolution supporting a grant application and contribute matching funds, if awarded, for the Redstone Historical Society de Maestri Durat Cottage acquisition from the History Colorado State Historical Fund.
She did that Italian accent into historic. I'll second that in motion.
Any further conversation?
Thanks, Francie. Jeff, thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Seeing none, all those in favor of
Aye.
moving this to a second reading?
Aye.
And I will take an oppose on this one.
Second reading is September 9th. No, it's April 9th.
And one follow-up, yesterday you all did give direction for a letter of support.
support.
I've not had a chance to do that, but is that, because this is due next Monday, is that something I can work with the chair or vice chair, whoever's in for signing on that?
I'm happy to work on the letter of support.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
I would just know that Commissioner Clapper mentioned second reading would be April 8th. It's April 9th.
April
I
9th,
believe.
I said.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I said September 9th to start.
Oh, okay.
I was way
My
off on
bad.
that.
Thank you.
Jeff, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Just tell me
If
what's
I may
going
interject, on April 9th,
You've got
I'll
a
be
couple
in
weeks to cook this.
Valley View Hospital under anesthesia, so I may not be able to participate.
So we'll
in
give you a
that.
couple documents to sign.
Before you go
All
under.
right, thank you very much.
Jeff.
Maybe
Thanks,
Jamie
Jeff.
could participate.
Good luck with it.
Thank you, thank you.
So Phyllis and Jeanette.
Phyllis.
Oh, you're coming up. Jeanette, get up here.
In the flesh.
Phyllis, what a treat.
Hi there.
Hi there.
Good to be here. This is a simple one. Jeanette and I have been doing a lot of work going through records, cleaning up policies, procedures, handbooks, code. We've done all sorts of things. And what we found was there were two handbooks, one that was published in 2009 and another published in 2010. The 2010 one never rescinded the 2009 one. So, and when we did the county code with employees of the administration, we never rescinded the 2007 one. So that's what this action is doing, taking those two handbooks and putting them into the archives to be known as history, but no longer current.
Okay.
I have a question.
Patty, question
You
for Phyllis.
promised me, both of you nice ladies, I could say ladies, I can't say women, right? By the federal government, but anyway.
Hard to know.
Yeah, I want to make sure that now the board won't be receiving from Human Resources notices over and over and over again that we need to read and approve the employee handbook. Since we're the
should-
ones approving it here now.
No, you're rescinding ones. You're
I
not
know, okay, I just want to
approving
make
one.
sure.
No.
Okay, because we were getting notices to approve the handbook that we had
To
approved. the
acknowledge
2010.
that
Yeah,
it exists.
I know. I cleared it up with Human Resources on my own account, but
So just
Thank
to make that piece clear, when we created the county code for employees of the administration, that was all the pieces that the Home Rule Charter said, they identified a long list, had to be by personnel resolution by the board. And when we looked at that, that was really county code. It's that we have an EEO policy, that we have a problem resolution. So that's now all in county code. And that took care of the handbook, no longer needed to be considered the personnel resolution.
Right.
It was knotted up there for a long time, and it's been since 2004. I was the HR director in 2005, so
So we can blame it all
Is it
on
mea culpa?
you.
this is a long time coming on trying to figure out a way to make the employee handbook a really good tool for employees that can be updated when needed, because things happen. The federal government makes changes, the state government makes changes, and then we can make them automatically happen versus, it's not really a board decision. But it was to update the handbook to say what the federal law said. It was goofy. So anyway, this is very simple housekeeping, but it has a second reading on April 9th.
And I think, and Jeffrey and
Please,
I
Phil.
think, and correct me, Jeffrey, because at our Northwest COG meeting on Thursday, we did hear some things about state protections for employees that would really be under our purview rather than any changes at the federal level. So that was a wee bit of comfort given to us as far as how we can ensure that our employees, I don't want to say get what they deserve, but, get what they deserve in a positive direction. So thank you.
Great.
Questions,
No, I'm ready to make a motion.
please?
Yeah, but I think if the motion will include, that you're going to get to spend more time on the gondola now if we approve this
Good
today.
It's the
Why
only
is
place
it?
I see you, Greg.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the resolution repealing Resolution 073-2009 and Resolution number 144-2010, authorizing amendments to the Pitkin County Employee Handbook.
Second.
Further discussion. The comments actually referred to by Patty at Northwest COG is that the state actually offers anti-discrimination protection. So that was where Barbara Green cited a catch-22 in the state of the world.
I tried to keep my head low on that one and not bring up the specifics.
Any further discussion? So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Okay,
All
thanks.
right.
Good to see you. Have
Nice
fun
to
if I
see
don't
you.
see you before your trip.
Good to see you all.
So Andrew Miller,
Hi, Andrew.
we're buying Aspen.
What's up?
Good afternoon, Andrew Miller, Housing Program Analyst. Coming before you today for a unit acquisition for the county at 414 Pacific Avenue, Unit A, over here in the ABC. Currently, we have 19 units in our general fund unit, inventory. About 10 of those are multi-bedroom and the other 9 are single bedrooms. So we've been working with a realtor to help us scan the market, and then she passes on any units that she think might be of good value for us to purchase. She passed on this unit at the ABC, of which we don't see many in town come online at this price, so we decided to go under contract and make an offer. We did make it was originally at $1,285,000. We started with a counter proposal of $1,250,000, and then they brought us back up to $1,265,000 is where the current contracting price is. 2 bedroom, 1 bath. Close to Rafta Stop at the ABC, close to grocery stores, close to medical services, and for us, out of those 19 units we currently have in our inventory, only 5 of them are within Pitkin County. So, hoping we'll be able to move forward with the acquisition of another unit for our employee inventory.
Question. Just a funny question. I thought, well, I should go look at this, look for it on the map. I just plugged in 414 Pacific Avenue, Aspen, Colorado, and it doesn't exist on the Google map. What's
Yeah,
up with that?
ABC has some really challenging
Oh, that's it.
addressing.
Developer
You
who
can
developed it?
try 414 ABC rather than 414 Pacific Avenue. The legal description just has it as
414
Pacific Avenue.
ABC?
Yeah.
Ah, thank you. Yeah, that's funny. That sounds like John.
So we're gonna make a motion with the updated price relative to what's in our packet.
I'm gonna ask a question before a motion, if
Please.
you don't mind. Does there any, the legal, since we didn't have any discussion prior to, because I think this is great, I think it's a great opportunity for us, and I just wanna make sure that we're clean and clear and ready to go.
You're clean and clear and ready to go on the ordinance, whether from a policy standpoint, you all want to continue to give staff direction to bring these all to you for your review for the first time during a public meeting or not. That's entirely up to you. And I will make sure we find some time to get that direction from you all going forward. It is important that as we're negotiating on these things that, it's just like any other property acquisition. You want to make sure we're holding our cards close to our chest so that other folks don't get wind of it. So.
Francie and then Patty.
I think that they should come to us. I think that at a public meeting, I think the public has a right to know when we're spending $1.2 million on a 2-bedroom unit.
Sure, I'm
Which is a
sorry,
good
I
deal.
wasn't clear on that. Of course, they will eventually come to you in a public meeting. No matter what
This
the acquisition.
preliminarily.
Yeah, just like a lot of our other property acquisitions, a lot of times we would bring that to you in executive session first to get a thumbs up, and then ultimately you would approve the acquisition in a public meeting. So we can follow up more with you all on that.
Patty.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think there's a time and a place. This one was clean, but we have others that maybe we need to have an exec, so maybe we wanna figure that at a deeper dive discussion.
John and I and Andrew can coordinate on that.
I think that would be great. Ones that should come back to us before we hear it in public for various reasons. We can outline that. And ones that, like this one, is just, we need to get this one. Thank you.
You ready for a motion? Greg.
I'd make a motion to approve the ordinance approving the purchase of 414 Pacific Avenue, Unit A, ABC, Alpine Grove Condo, Aspen, Colorado, which I still can't find on a map, but I think it's there.
I'll send you a link.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Testing and checking in with the board. We good going to second readings, at least confluence?
5 minutes, possible.
So, Jay, we're going to take to 12:52 and take a 5-minute recess for Greg.
Thank you.
I'm gonna watch that
Jay, thank you. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of County Commissioners of Pitkin County, Colorado. It is Wednesday, March 26th. It's about 12:53. Apologies for our tardiness. We are on individual consideration items, second hearings. We will take public comment after Maggie, Jeanette, and Hannah Berman's
Yeah.
presentation. Good to see you.
Hannah's back.
Yeah.
Right here. Do you want my trifocals?
That's a good start. So yeah, outside of ski wear.
I made it past the bouncer, yeah.
Yeah. Maggie, the floor is yours.
Okay.
Jeanette,
Jeanette, the floor is yours.
Are we ready?
Yes, please.
we're ready.
All right. Jeanette Jones, Manager's Office, and we're here to present to you today the second reading and public hearing on a resolution approving a service plan for the Confluence Early Childhood Development Service District. And I've outlined some of the conditions in my memo, and joining me at the table today is Maggie Terskonia and Hannah Berman. We also have Nate Brueggemann here, who is the counsel for the Confluence. Kelly Ish is here with us today, Valerie Carlin. And we also have several members of the public, as you can see, that would like to speak to this item today. And I've given Jeffrey a list of some of them, but there may be others too. So anyway, I am going to turn it over to Maggie because they have a very detailed, lengthy presentation that.
Really?
Yeah. Well, kind of lengthy. So I'll let them proceed.
And does Ingrid want to join us at the dais? Awesome. Thank you.
Okay,
Excellent.
thank
Maggie,
you.
all yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I am Maggie Tiscornia, resident of Carbondale, Colorado, and the director of the Confluence Early Childhood Education, or CC Coalition. I just handed our presentation to you, a physical copy, which we would like entered into the public record. The CC Coalition is a group of education, nonprofit, business, and parent leaders from Parachute to Aspen who've been working together on this regional proposal to improve access to early childhood care and education since 2017. And the organizations you see listed here on the slide have dedicated long hours and very thoughtful input to develop the service plan that the CC Coalition filed in Garfield, Pitkin, and Eagle counties earlier this year. So we're so grateful for your time and attention that you've already invested in learning about the proposed service plan. And we're excited today for our official public hearing. And to kick us off, I will review at a high level what is being proposed before handing the mic over to coalition and community members to speak to the tremendous need that's really mobilizing this effort to ask for this proposed solution. So reflective of significant community input, the service plan proposes the creation of a new early childhood development special district, which is a type of special district that was authorized by the state legislature in 2019, as you all know. And there are communities around the state looking at a special district option for early childhood services, but this, if passed, this special district would be the first of its kind in the state of Colorado. And it encompasses the economically and socially interconnected region that is Parachute to Aspen. So that includes all of Garfield County, all of Pitkin County, and then the southwest portion of Eagle County that is within this Roaring Fork School District boundary. The service plan outlines 4 main services that the district would focus on, including tuition assistance to help families afford early care and education, grants to child care providers to help increase the number of slots available and to make quality improvements. This could include helping with staff recruitment and retention efforts, outreach and navigation of services to assist families in finding the care that meets their needs, and administrative costs and evaluation of the program to make sure it's achieving its intended impact. It's important to note that the district is envisioned to coordinate with and provide funding to support the programs and providers already doing amazing work, so not to duplicate efforts or add unnecessary bureaucracy. So the goal is really to get the funding out the door to support families and providers as efficiently as possible. Speaking of the funding, the district would be funded by a 0.25% sales tax, pending voter approval, which would raise an estimated $10 million annually. I do want to note that critical, everyday essential products would be exempted from the tax, so that includes groceries, gas, diapers, medical supplies and medicines, and feminine hygiene products. So none of these items would be included in the tax. The district would be overseen by an elected 5-member board of directors, each of whom will represent a geographical portion of the district. And the seat map you see here on the slide depicts the director seats drawn based on the statutory requirements, which include that each boundary must have as near as practically possible the same number of registered electors. So today we have 5 presenters from the coalition, as well as some folks who will give public comments, including parents, educators, employers, and community leaders. So with that, I will hand it over to Hannah Berman to talk about why a special district. Then our attorney, Nate Bergeman, will review the specific criteria that the statute lays out to consider when evaluating the service plan. So thank you so much, commissioners, for your time and consideration today.
Hello, I'm Hannah Berman, and I'm the Senior Manager for Sustainability and Philanthropy at Aspen One. And there I work on environmental issues as well as community philanthropy and access programs, where we get about 5,600 local people on the slopes for free ski days from Aspen to Parachute. And I was also elected to Basalt Town Council last year, and part of the reason I ran is because I heard so many young working families stressed about childcare because there wasn't enough, and if they got a spot, it was extremely expensive. And I've been a part of the CC Coalition for about 5 years. This is no surprise to you all, but we have a very regional economy, and at Aspen One, we have more than 4,000 employees that stretch up and down this valley, and childcare has been so frequently cited as an issue, both in terms of quantity and in terms of cost, that we went ahead and hired a vice president of housing and childcare to specifically work on this program and design supports for employees, but we certainly can't do that alone, which is why we're working on a more systemic fix, which we see as this special district for childcare. And this is something we hear from employees. I talked to one employee who said she got on the Blue Lake preschool waiting list before telling her husband she was pregnant. I've seen many employees, unfortunately, have to move back home to the Midwest or out of this valley because even though they were on wait lists, their baby came, their parental leave came and went, and they were still on those same wait lists. And unfortunately, we see this disproportionately impacting female workers. And I think we are a valley, and we are certainly a company at Aspen One that believes parents should have a financially feasible choice to stay in the workforce. They should be able to stay on their career path if they want it. And for us, that helps with retention. It's extremely difficult to hire new employees because that often comes with the need for housing, which, as you saw in your last agenda item, is pretty pricey in this valley. And from a town of Basalt perspective, from 2010 till 2023, Basalt went from 27% four-person families to 15% four-person families. And I believe we're a community and we are a town that wants to be a place where families can live and where young working people can make a life here. And right now, that's really not the case in our region. So the proposal before you would establish a special district, and the reason why we want to work at a regional level is because we want to make sure that families can pick whether their childcare should be close to home or close to work. We've surveyed our employees at Aspen One. There's a big mix of where they want their kids in childcare, and this would enable that sort of flexibility. And it also lets us kind of cut through some of the lines, so we're not working across 3 counties, 10 towns, multiple school districts. It really creates a glove that fits our region. And part of the reason that we can do this is because in 2019, the Colorado State Legislature passed 191052, which would enable communities to work collaboratively to fund and align services for our youngest children and families. And if approved, this would be the very first special district for childcare in our state, which I think is kind of the Aspen idea of we want to try new progressive things to help families and local people, and we've done a lot of community feedback to make sure that we're creating something that will work here and could perhaps work as a model for other communities elsewhere. So we hope that you will support this regional district approach and help us invest not only in childcare, but in the supports that businesses need to be able to retain and support their workforce, and particularly those mid-level managers who are starting to have kids in our region. So thank you so much. We really appreciate your consideration and your time today, and we hope you'll support this.
Thank you, Hannah.
Thanks, Hannah.
Nate?
Thank you, commissioners. We appreciate your time, and I'm going to try and go quickly through this without reading statutes to you. So,
And just introduce yourself as well.
Nate Bruggeman from Rec Kornfeld, legal counsel to the coalition.
Good to see you. Thank you.
So to run briefly through the approval process, which Ms. Jones has laid out in your materials, there are a series of filings that occur in the beginning, primarily through the clerk and recorder's offices in the 3 counties, which are then the plans are referred to the BoCC for consideration. There are a step of notice requirements to us, DOLA, and the public for this hearing, which is why we're all here today. So the plan was filed in all 3 counties. Garfield has had its public hearing and it approved the plan. Eagle had its public hearing yesterday and it has approved the plan. So this is the last stop for the coalition before we can go to the district court. So what your authority is here is to give us the green light to go and collect signatures from the public, which we then petition the district court with, and obtain an order once the district court has confirmed we've complied with the statutory requirements to put this on the ballot and give the voters in the proposed district the authority to create the district. Along with that, we will refer the funding question, the sales tax that Maggie talked about in compliance with Tabor. And so to do that, we have to do it at a Tabor election, which you're familiar with those requirements. So that would be a general election, either 2025 or 2026. These are the requirements. So there's 2 sets of requirements in the statute. There are basically the mandatory requirements, and then there are a set of discretionary considerations. So the first mandatory requirement is that there's a sufficient existing and projected need for organized service in the area to be serviced by the proposed special district. The second criteria is the existing service in the area to be served by the proposed special district is inadequate for present and projected needs. The third is the proposed special district is capable of providing economical and sufficient service to the area within its proposed boundaries. Now, the fourth mandatory criteria is not applicable here because the coalition is not proposing to bring on any indebtedness, so that is not something you have to consider along with the plan. Then there are 5 discretionary criteria, which do have some overlap, a bit of a Venn diagram with the mandatory criteria. The first is adequate service is not or will not be available to the area through the county or other existing municipal or quasi-municipal corporations, including special districts, within a reasonable time and on a comparable basis. So this is getting to kind of the efficiency question. We don't want to be redundant, and as Maggie and has covered, that is a core consideration here, is that we want to blend and braid resources to be efficient. The second is whether the facility and service standards of the proposed special district are compatible with the facility and service standards of each county within which the proposed special district is to be located in the municipalities. At this time, we're not proposing to build any facilities, but as Maggie covered, there may be grants that are provided to service providers, and a condition of that would be to comply with local law. So we think we also meet that criteria. The third criteria is an interesting one. It says the proposal is in substantial compliance with the master plan adopted pursuant to section 30-28-106 of the revised statutes. That particular section concerns the physical infrastructure plan of the county. But I think Pitkin, along with Eagle and Garfield, has thought of infrastructure in a broader sense, and that is that you also have a human infrastructure with the county. And so while this particular criteria is not applicable here because we're not building anything, as you will hear from our presenters and as you're aware, I think what we are proposing is complementary to and builds upon the ideas of human infrastructure that are, I think, at the core of many of the policies that the board has been pursuing. The fourth criteria is whether the proposal complies with the long-range water quality management plan. That is not applicable. We're not involved with water. And the reason there are these physical infrastructure type considerations is, as you know, many special districts, in particular things like metropolitan districts, have a physical infrastructure component to them. And then the final criteria is whether the creation of the proposed special district would be in the best interest of the area proposed to be served. And so I think this gets to kind of the heart of what this coalition is trying to accomplish here, which is to really make life better for the district here, or for the voters of the district and the growth of the area. A final just set of comments on the service plan. When you look at this, the service plan is meant in some ways to be more like a constitution. It is a set of overarching principles and guidelines that will apply to the board of directors in their execution of their duties. So what you may not see in the service plan are very specific criteria that you might find in a code or a regulation, because at the end of the day, there is going to be an elected board of directors, and it's important for them to be able to be responsive to the voters in changing circumstances. So while this points them in the right direction of what's trying to be accomplished here, it's not meant to hamstring them so that they can be responsive to voters and held accountable to voters for the decisions that they're making. So before we jump into the individual criteria, I'm happy to take any procedural or statutory related questions if the commissioners have any.
Questions for Nate?
Sure.
Greg?
Regarding board of directors, has candidates stepped forward? Do you have an idea of people contemplating running for this position, and when would the community know about it?
So I'll answer kind of the legal component of that is that they will be elected at the organizational election, the initial board of directors, and there is a statutory way in which you set up or stagger their terms so that you can get onto the right cycling for future elections. But in terms of community interest so far, I'll let Maggie talk about that.
We do have interested candidates. We're working on that list, so we don't have candidates confirmed yet, but we're thinking about it, and we'll likely have our list in May, June, because we have to submit those to the district court.
Excellent.
Right.
Patty?
Have you done any public noticing? Because I haven't seen anything where, for example, if I was interested, how I would submit my.
When the district court
So you haven't
orders the
gotten to that
election,
point yet.
right, so
But you're already compiling a list, but you
we're
haven't
having
noticed
informal
it.
discussions, I would say, with coalition members, people who are interested in the community and who know about what we're trying to do.
Okay.
Once we pass through the district court process, there's a whole new noticing cycle about the election.
I just don't want any preconceived idea that we've already kind of picked our people. I want it to public to know that there's a process coming forward where anybody who's interested can participate.
Correct. There's a nomination process, and anybody that wanted to run who meets the requirements to run in a particular director district can throw their hat in the ring.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Greg.
Greg?
Another question just about no infrastructure, not building anything, not acquiring anything, but you will have an organization, and you'll have an address somewhere, just a rental office somewhere is all that's required?
Yes.
Okay.
That's right.
Got it. So we know how to find you.
Yes. No, and there are a number of notice requirements that you have to run through the Division of Local Affairs about where you are and letting all the voters in the district know where you are. So there will be everybody will be accountable and findable.
Kelly?
You ready?
We're ready. Sorry, thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Kelly Esch, and I'm a resident of Newcastle. I've lived in Roaring Fork Valley since 2008, and I'm proud to now be raising my young family here. I am here not only as a parent, but also as my capacity as Executive Director of Early Childhood Network, which was originally an offset of City of Aspen's Kids First for Garfield County, which was funded through Aspen Community Foundation. We became our own 501c3 in 2010. So we work alongside the early child care providers in Garfield and with the families in helping them access child care and information and resources. We have been a member of the CC Coalition since its onset, but I personally have been involved since 2018. And I'm just thrilled to be here today to seek support of the service district, so thank you for this opportunity. As the attorneys have just laid out, there's certain criteria that you must consider when evaluating a proposed special district. So my role today is to talk to you about that first required criteria, which is the need for service that will be provided by the proposed district. Simply put, early care and education in our region is too hard to find and too expensive to afford. From Parachute to Aspen, it's home to approximately 5,100 children 5 and under. According to the fall 2024 survey conducted by the CC Coalition to licensed child care providers, there were 77 licensed child care providers offering 2,272 licensed and staffed child care spots. Though that's just a point in time snapshot, because we know those numbers can honestly change daily, absolutely monthly, depending on staffing changes and criteria. It does still paint an accurate picture of our challenge that we face. That is that we only have licensed childcare capacity to serve approximately 44% of the children in our region. Well, I know not all families need childcare, nor will all of them choose to go to licensed childcare. I know that there are dozens, if not hundreds, actively seeking this right now that are unable to find it. And I know this because at Early Childhood Network, we field phone calls every day from parents who are frantically looking for care. You'll hear from some others today, but I've heard so many heart-wrenching stories of families sharing very personal information with me over the phone, trying for me to find them some secret spot that they didn't know about. But I'll let parents talk to you about their own needs. But for myself, as being a parent, I actually got on a wait list before I told my family. My husband did know, but the rest of the family didn't know, because I knew the challenge, and luckily I'm in a privileged position that I know where there's openings and I know where high quality care is. Anyways, for better or worse, childcare has become a necessity in our modern economy. In most places, but particularly here in our incredibly beautiful and expensive community, most families need 2 incomes to be able to make ends meet. And those families that are able to find childcare pay handsomely for it. Currently, the average tuition for a family of 2 children in our area ranges from $2,500 a month to $3,800 per month, and that's dependent on the age of the children, the part of the region that they live and work, and the particular program that family chooses. Which often means that childcare is the family's greatest expense, right up there with housing. While there are existing public funding sources that support childcare and other early childhood development programs, my colleague Valerie will speak to here in a moment, the need to invest in childcare capacity and affordability far outstrips the available resources that we currently have. This district is proposing to invest critical funding to increase the number of licensed care spots across the region and to make care more affordable to families who live and work here, thus increasing the chances that young working parents can afford to stay in our community and raise their children right here amongst us.
As an advocate who has worked for years to make our community a more attractive and affordable place for families with young children, this proposal is extremely exciting. So I urge you to vote yes today in support of our service plan so we can hopefully move it forward. Thank you.
Kelly, thank you.
I have a question.
Questions for Kelly
Just
before we go to
really
Valerie?
quick, on your numbers for monthly cost, I know there's a lot of parents who don't do 5 days a week. So you're just basing it on 5 days a week?
Correct. That's two children at 5 days a week. Yes, yes, yes.
Because I know there's a lot of parents who do 3 days or 2
Mhm.
days.
Yep.
Or 4 days, not
Yeah,
5.
so full-time is what we
Okay, so it's
refer to
full-time.
it, yep.
And I know there's always been a question, we're looking at how many people are on the wait list and the redundancy, because people are smart and they're not gonna sign up on one wait
They're on-
list.
they're on 8.
So have we found a way to vet that, do you know? So we can find out if a family's on 10 different wait lists and they're getting counted 10 times for what our need is?
I know you take that.
Yeah, I'm like this is an age-old question that we are currently. I mean, City of Kids First did a wait list study. I'm not sure if you guys were.
Yeah, that's why my question came
That's
up.
where I was like, that's
They
why
didn't
I'm like,
vet how many people were on 10 different lists.
Exactly. So we're currently still working on that, which honestly has been happening for years, but we're getting a lot closer because of the state utilizing certain online wait list forms. For example, our Universal Preschool and our Connect Care Colorado, I don't know the exact words, are now on the same platform that we are able to say, this is the same family, they're at this. But speaking to that, because I think you're looking at capacity, right? For preschool, you'll see we're close to there for that capacity. Infants, we're
Infants is
nowhere
tough,
close.
we do even know
Exactly.
that. And it's tough to get licensing for infants.
Yes.
Just as a disclosure, my daughter runs her own home care, and my daughter-in-law is the executive director of a child care in, what is it, Sopris?
Mount Sopris Montessori School?
Thank you. Yes, thank you. I knew you would know. That was your daughter-in-law. That's my daughter-in-law.
Oh my God, sorry.
And so
I know your daughter very well.
I know they, both sides, all sides, and I had 2 kids in childcare at the same time years ago, and it was very difficult.
Yes.
Then, and I know it's just increase in need, so thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for
And I
Kelly?
just wrote down in there, Tracy, do you know her? Thank you,
So
Kelly.
Valerie Carlin, the official office for CC in the Mid-Valley.
Right, we might be. We'll see. Good afternoon. I'm Valerie Carlin. I'm a resident of Aspen Village here in Pitkin County. I am the Chief Impact Officer at Aspen Community Foundation, which serves as the sponsoring organization for the CC Coalition. Aspen Community Foundation has been steadfast supporters of expanding access to early care and education for children and families since 2003. We are proud to have started the Cradle to Career Initiative in 2012, from which the CC Coalition originated. We know the early years can set the foundation for success in school and in life, and I'm thrilled to be here today in support of the Confluence Early Childhood Development Service District Plan. Whew. Before we jump in, I do want to thank you guys because your investment in early care and education has been a game changer for Pitkin County. Your teacher stipend program has really helped these critical employees stay employed, and I hear from providers eagerly awaiting their checks so they can get it out to their teachers. So thank you guys for that. And I've been really thrilled to be a partner with you in that effort. So that's a little personal thing. So let's jump in. So my responsibility this morning is to talk to you about money, both the current resources that we have and then the ones that we would like to bring in through this special tax district. And we believe this relates to all 4 of the mandatory criteria that you are considering today. So the Early Childhood Fund sustains itself by piecing together, or blending and braiding, as we all like to call it, funding from various sources, public and private, federal, state, and local. The special district proposes adding a new regional funding stream that will help reduce burden on families and strengthen the field, so adding to the pot. I'm going to run through this infographic that I hope will highlight the need for both additional slots and additional dollars. Okay, so let's start on the left of the slide, the purple bar. So right now there are 5,100 kids under the age of 5 in the region. You heard that from Kelly. We have the staff slots for 2,272 kids, or 44% of those children, those 5,000 children. Based on similar programs in other communities, we anticipate that about 60% of children overall will want to participate in a subsidized licensed child care opportunity. That gets us theoretically to a little over 3,000 children being able to be served. As noted here, we are about 800 slots
in short in current capacity, meaning we need to invest both in staffing and the programs in order to reach that capacity goal. Now let's look at tuition. So you'll see that our estimate is that it costs about $17,000 per year per child for childcare right now. And if all the children, the 3,070 children, were in childcare, that cost would be $52 million, just straight tuition costs. So staying on that green bar, you'll see that we have some major public funding sources that benefit early care and education in our region. Right now we have CCAP, which is the Colorado Child Care Assistance Program. It's a mix of federal and state funding, which is administered through the counties, and that provides child care subsidies for low-income families in particular. We also have Colorado UPK, or Universal Preschool Program funding. It's state-funded preschool that typically pays for about 15 hours a week of school for children in the year before they enter kindergarten, typically around 4 years old. And then locally, we are really fortunate to have county and municipally funded programs that do support early care and education, but only in certain communities. So the largest is the City of Aspen's Kids First program. You'll see that of that $700K for local support, Kids First is the biggest percentage of that chunk. So together, this current public investment across the region is about $6.5 million, and that's a small percentage of that $52 million that we need to cover that $17,000 per year tuition. And again, just for 3,000 kids, which is only 60% of the children that we're talking about. So national guidelines recommend that families spend no more than 7% of their income on childcare. Well, today we know that our families spend between 30 and 35% of their income on childcare. This is a huge burden on families. I don't have to tell you that. So ideally, in a perfect world, we would want families to pay closer to that 7% guideline. But by doing so, if they did that, they would pay about $24.6 million into that $52 million system. Okay, this still leaves a gap of $20.9 million to be funded. And this gap would really have to be paid for by the parents. So the service plan of the Confluence Early Childhood Development Service District calls for a 0.25% sales tax increase. This is outlined in Appendix B of your document there. So we estimate that the district will raise about $10 million in revenue in year one, and staying relatively consistent over time. So back to the infographic, you'll see that $10 million will cover about half of the $20.9 million funding gap if it were all dedicated to tuition, like if we just paid for tuition. If the special district were created, there would still be at least a $10 million gap that parents would have to pay above the 7% tuition cost. So while the annual budget will be set by the board, our proposal anticipates that the board will allocate the majority to tuition subsidies, but also they need to dedicate some funding to capacity development to help establish those 800 slots. So on this next slide, we have our submitted financial plan, where you will see in year 2, which is what a more typical operating year will look like, we are spending 93% of the revenues directly on programming and only 5% on administration costs. We want to be a lean operation focused on getting the money into programming and families who need the support. Now that's a lot of numbers, but here are the three key takeaways I'd like you to have. First, current public investment is important but woefully insufficient, and as a result, we are putting a huge financial burden on families with young children today. Second, the funding to be generated by this special district is meaningful but still insufficient to meet the demand. So even with passage of the special district, there is no risk that the sector will be overfunded. And third and finally, funding for the sector is fragmented, and having a regional entity like this could benefit from an alignment and efficiency perspective. So we believe these factors address all 4 of the requirements you are required to consider when evaluating this proposal. Happy to answer any questions, and I urge your support, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Valerie. Patty?
Yes, thank you. I brought this up before, and I'm sure it's going to come up as you move forward, is the double taxation issue with the voters in the city of Aspen. Since they're already paying, I believe it's a sales tax for the Kids First program, we don't want to see that go away because we need that funding. But I just don't know how you're going to, or if you've been thinking about how you're going to address that. Because I know that's come up over the many years I've been sitting here many times for trying to do a cooperative, something with the county, but then the city would be double taxed. So, any thoughts?
So, and Nate, you're welcome to rejoin or.
Turn to our legal.
If you want to just say that, we'll address it in a minute. I'll do it. Okay, we'll address it in a minute.
Okay, and.
But Patty, I will say we are, it is in the mind.
Okay,
but
and
yeah.
how will, moving forward and with this getting passed, how will Kids First be brought into this loop? I mean, I'm sure you've been talking very closely with them so that we can be working together, even though Kids First is just servicing up this end of the valley.
I will say Kids First has been, was on that list of contributors to the service plan, so we've worked closely with them to contribute to the development of this service plan. So they've been amazing thought partners and essentially thinking through how to extend the services that they offer throughout the region and still fill the gaps that are still here in Pitkin County as well.
Right, because I know that there's always been a concern about using that tax fund outside of the city.
Mm-hmm.
So
Similar, we had a similar comment with Eagle yesterday. They have efforts, and we're not, this coalition, this service plan is not here to duplicate or take away anything. It's here to amplify.
Okay.
And so that's going to be something that the board will need to work on, and they will work on to make sure that.
I'm sure you'll be asked that during the campaign. That's going to be interesting to see how you guys. Yeah, that's going to be a lot of work. But the other question I have too is, I really believe that, and looking at Hannah, where did Hannah disappear to?
Back right.
In the corner back, way in the back corner, the need for our workforce is really a critical issue. But I do know, and I can't blame them, having been a mother myself, that there are mothers or fathers who just want days off. They don't work. They just want a day without their kids. You can't blame them for maybe wanting to take a day off, but it's hard for me to try and fund something for the workforce. I don't know if we vet that as part of it. I don't know how, I've asked this before with City of Aspen, and I know there was, how do you weigh that? Because, moms, dads, maybe need a day off, not from work, but from their children. And, but, it's hard to try and create a taxing base for, really, I think it needs to go to people who are working one or two jobs that don't have the opportunity to have mom stay home or dad stay home.
I'm not sure what your question is.
I'm asking how we to vet parents so that they're both working parents.
That will be, the board will carry the burden of developing the system by which tuition will be determined, right? I can guess that there'll be some sort of a sliding scale implemented based on income. It will go to people that are in licensed childcare. So some of that, perhaps that informal care that might be happening when parents need a day off is probably not going to be qualified. But again, I just have to start. That's for the board to determine how that implementation
So we have a lot
plays
of
out.
questions that won't be answered until somewhere down the line. Okay. So we've been dealing with that a lot today.
I know.
Any lessons learned out of your road trip? In other words, any surprises out of either Garfield or Eagle before you got here? From the commissioners or from your deliberations?
I would say no surprises, just unanimous support.
Yeah, very enthusiastic.
Excellent. And we don't have to pin you down, but I assume you're on target for 2025, but you don't have to go in 2025.
Correct.
Right.
Tax question.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it as an option with our timeline, and we'll make that determination, or the timeline might make it for us as well.
Good point.
Thank you. Thank you. Are we opening to Leslie next?
I think we're going to public comment next.
Oh, do I need to talk about
I guess you're opening
discussion?
public comment.
I'm opening public comment, but I was told I have an order of priority because this is a special district. You guys are special, so Leslie Bixel. Leslie
It's
Bixel.
page 10 of the handout.
Leslie, would you like to join us?
Sure. I wrote it all down because I tend to go on tangents about this topic.
And just state your name first.
Yes,
as well,
Leslie
please.
Bixel. I am the director of the Aspen School District Preschool, affectionately known as the Cottage. I have been working in childcare in Pitkin County in some form or another since 2005, when I came here for one season.
I have seen the ups and downs of our town over the last 20 years, especially those involved in early childhood education. Most notably, I entered the 2020 pandemic as an assistant director alongside Patty's daughter-in-law of a private preschool and left years later as a director. During this time, I experienced anxiety, stress, and overall feeling of loss from families and ECE staff as they struggled with implications the pandemic caused. While I feel like our staffing crisis has drastically improved over the last couple of years, we are still not out of the woods. Our ECE community still needs support from those who reside in our valley. Today, I'm here to strongly advocate for increased tuition support for families in our community. As a preschool director, I see firsthand both the life-changing impact that high-quality early childhood education has on children, families, and our local economy, and the financial burden that paying for these programs places on families. We all want the children in our community to thrive. Research shows that children who attend high-quality early learning programs are better prepared for kindergarten, read earlier, graduate high school at a higher rate, and go on to college more often. Early education sets them up for success, giving them more opportunities throughout their lives. This proposal would help ensure that more children in our region, regardless of their family's income, can benefit from the strong foundation that early learning provides. While today I'm focused mostly on trying to find funding for families, I also need to say that we cannot provide high-quality care without high-quality teachers. While most schools in Pitkin County and the Aspen School District have increased their wage substantially, not every area in the valley has been so lucky. ECE educators are struggling to afford to live in the very communities they serve. Some are making as little as $14 an hour, far below what is needed to survive in this region. This measure presented to you today would help attract and retain skilled early childhood educators, ensuring that children parachute to Aspen would have the best possible teachers guiding them through these critical early years. For many working families, childcare is the largest expense they face each month, often exceeding the cost of housing or even college tuition. In our area, the average cost for a 4-year-old to attend full-time early childhood care and education is over $17,000 per year, a financial strain that forces many families to make difficult choices. Without assistance, many parents leave the workforce or even move out of the area to search for more affordable options. This directly impacts our local businesses, schools, and workforce stability. I urge you to support this proposal because it is not just an investment in early education, it is an investment in our children, our workforce, and the future of Pitkin, Eagle, and Garfield County. Pitkin County has the opportunity to be a leader in supporting families, strengthening education, and ensuring our community remains a great place to live and work. I urge you to prioritize early childhood education funding and help us build a stronger future for all. Thank you for all that you guys have already done for early childhood education. So
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Nice to
Leslie.
see you.
So we have Schaefer Welch.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Schaefer Welch. I'm a resident of Newcastle and been living in the Valley since around 2015, excuse me. Pleased to join you today in support of the proposed Early Childhood Special District. I'm the proud dad of twin boys. They'll be 4 in May, so my life is very complicated. My wife and I both work in Aspen and started out living in Old Snowmass originally. We've moved down to Glenwood, and now we've recently, last summer, bought a house in Newcastle. One of the biggest decisions we've ever made, but the reality is we wanted to commit long-term to being in this valley, which we love. We both do the commute multiple times a week from Newcastle, so it's gotten a little longer. And for the past 6 months, we have not had childcare. Due to the high cost, we both work opposite hours, so I can be with the kids during the day, which I run daddy daycare most of the time. I love our community and love all the aspects of our community, the hiking, biking, and all the outdoor activities that we love. And now with our kids, we love seeing that. I think that's super important. And I love seeing young families such as us, commit to living in this area and community to take advantage of that. This is why we live here, basically. With that said, I know how expensive and challenging it is to make ends meet, the high cost of childcare. We know that we would likely maybe qualify for some financial assistance through childcare through Kids First, since we do work in Aspen. However, commuting with 2 4-year-olds almost, both ways, would just be extremely challenging, to say the least. I don't think it would work. So, to have the affordable childcare close to home, there's just not enough options for us, really. And we've seen that firsthand. I heard you talk about wait list earlier. 2 weeks ago, we got a call. We were still number 17 and 18 on the list. This is 4 years later because we were on the list before we had children. So that's a perfect example. But we are making it work the best we can. I'm lucky to be home with my kids. The cost of living is so high in our area, as we all know, that most families don't have a choice but to get back to work as soon as they have children. And we were no exception to that. And sometimes I feel like we piece our life together like a jigsaw puzzle to make it work. And I'd be remiss to say that there were times I thought we probably would not make it work and would have to leave the valley. Thankfully, that's not been the case yet. This proposal is really important to me, and I think it makes sure that parents are forced to not be able to choose between, paying their bills and giving their kids the opportunities they need. And I'd go further to say it's more than just paying bills and affordably live childcare. It's being able to live and enjoy your life. And so I've seen that kind of firsthand. So this is an important opportunity for the region to work together to invest in children and families to help ensure it's a welcoming and supportive community. And I think, in closing, I'd say that the important word here is opportunity. When there's an opportunity to make a decision like this, I understand it's a big one, but the opportunity, I believe, is essential to move the needle forward on affordable childcare for our communities and for our young families here. And I'm a part of that. So I urge you to vote yes in support of this service plan, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Thank you, Schaefer.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck with those 2 boys.
Thank you. Tom McCauley?
Thank you. My name's Tom McCauley. I'm the Chief HR Officer at Aspen Valley Hospital. And Schaefer, hang in there. Your kids eventually do move out. But I just wanted to say thank you for taking time this morning. I'm speaking on behalf of the employers in the Valley. And so from a personal standpoint, as a dad and a voter, I'm supporting this because my 2 kids, when they grew up in our region in the Midwest, they directly benefited from great teachers and also having plenty of options that were affordable, both public and private. But one thing that we found out here quickly here is that there is a little bit of a desert that way. Those early childhood educators did a great job preparing our kids for their education. But to have equal access to that, something like that would be really important to our employees and to our families. So, however, here, as we mentioned, you've heard earlier that we are suffering from a lack of options, and the ones that do exist are a financial burden on most of our families. From a professional capacity, I also support this. We're the second largest employer in the Valley. And when we survey our employees every year, 600 plus employees, we do a wellness survey and we ask them, how can we impact, your quality of life? And it's always 1 and 2, employee housing and childcare, and they typically flip-flop. So this causes direct stress to our employees of not having legitimate options this way for childcare. One of the more critical ways that we can positively impact the wellness of our employees is to address this issue, which is directly impacting their children. For over 134 years, AVH has helped keep our communities up and down the valley healthy and vibrant. Our reputation as a level 3 trauma center and also one of the preeminent critical access hospitals in the country is directly related to the talent that we can attract here and also retain. And this is a talent attraction and retention issue for us. And you'd think when we talk about our employees, people typically quickly think about our doctors and nurses and other clinical folks. But we also employ a lot of administrative staff and operations staff where this is an even bigger stressor to their life and their home budgets. We see this proposal for the early childhood special district as a critical investment, really, as an investment in our region's greatest asset, which is their people and our workforce. Not just the children themselves, but also mom and dad who are working so hard to provide for their families. So any program that we can do or get behind that increases the capacity and also decreases the cost to our families would be a huge win for employers here in the Valley and for those who are working incredibly hard to retain and attract those employees. So on behalf of the executive team at Aspen Valley Hospital and our board of directors, we are very proud to wholeheartedly support this proposal, and I urge your approval of the service plan. So thank you for your service to our community, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Tom. Theron?
Theron is online.
Theron Mulberry, you're about to get a promotion.
It is spring break, so.
Don't tell us he's on a beach, because that's not going to make us happy.
Yeah, I'm not on a beach, but I am wearing a hat, so here we go. Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say a couple things. I think so many things have already been said, and I really appreciate everybody that has done all of the speakings thus far, but I just want to echo the sentiments that have already been stated. And the main one I just want to talk about is retention. I can tell you that one of the biggest problems that we've had, and I really like the same issue that AVH is with retention of employees. And the biggest part of that retention is making sure that they have the quality of life to be able to make it in Aspen. And I cannot tell you when we have how often our employees stay because we have this childcare option at the school. And I know that there's so many that can't because it is not something that's ubiquitous and available across the valley. And I know having that option for everybody is imperative for us to continue to keep and retain these employees. I also just think it's a real equity issue as well. So many of our staff have a completely different schedule than what is a typical business day schedule, and there's not a lot of options for flexibility outside of that. And without having some of these unique funding opportunities, there's no way that that kind of flexibility will ever be engendered into our child care schedules. And just the last thing is I just think this is a really ethical piece of what we need to do as a community, being in education, providing this type of a resource and making sure that we know that it's high quality care. And we just recently had the Rural Alliance literacy group come and meet with us, and the kind of training that has been provided and is available for all of our staff now. We promoted our district and then is promoted through the county-wide would be fantastic to have all children have that kind of access to that kind of high quality literacy work that's happening in those areas, because we're seeing huge results at the public schools from having this kind of an approach. So again, wholeheartedly endorse this movement, and I thank Maggie and her team for getting this going.
Thank you, Theron. Enjoy your holiday and enjoy spring break. Rob Stein.
You didn't ask him where he is. I'm curious.
He didn't give us a camera either, did you notice?
I heard that.
He's on the beach, but he's muted.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Rob Stein. I reside in Carbondale. I retired as superintendent of the Roaring Fork Schools in 2022, but I've stayed involved in this project. Well, I got involved in this project in 2016, right at the very beginning. I've stayed involved because it's so crucially important to our community. I'm not alone in this belief. All the school superintendents from Aspen to Parachute have read the research about the first 5 years of life and the crucial importance that early childhood education plays in those most fundamental and formative years. Kids with high quality access to early childhood education are not only better prepared for kindergarten, they read earlier, graduate high school at higher rates, are more likely to go to college, are more successful in their careers, and are more likely to sustain long-term relationships. And that's why not only Theron, but all of the superintendents, Anna Kolk, Heather Grumley, Jennifer Baugh, and I have worked hard together over the years and are endorsing this proposal. As all the speakers have laid out before me, this is a compelling proposal that meets the critical community need that is not being adequately met in other ways. If approved, the special district will have significant benefits for children, for working families and parents, employers, and for the community at large. Importantly, this proposal was developed by the community and for the community. The service plan before you is the result of countless conversations and focus groups with parents and early childhood educators, multiple provider surveys, working meetings and site visits with other Colorado communities that have made local tax investments in early childhood programming to learn from their experience, and hundreds of hours of discussions and planning among a dedicated group of coalition members. To date, we've collected endorsements from dozens of community organizations and leaders. We're grateful to everyone who have met with us, shared their ideas and their perspectives to help shape this proposal, including you commissioners who asked us good questions in the work session a couple weeks ago and pushed us to develop a more thoughtful presentation. If we are fortunate enough to earn your support, we're poised and ready to move ahead and seek support from voters. We know that ballot campaigns are hard work, but we are eager to meet that challenge. We respectfully request that your support for the Confluence Early Childhood Special District Service Plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
So Maggie, any other?
Yeah, there is.
Oh, no, I don't know about this one.
Pinch hitter.
I wasn't planning on speaking today, so thank you. I'm Mary Ryerson. I'm president of Alpine Bank Aspen. I know many of you at the table, and I'm a resident of Basalt for the Pitkin County side. We had 5 children who went through early childhood education here in Aspen. I started the first infant child care center in 1983 because there was not one infant spot that was licensed at that time. I served on the board of with Governor Romer for his commission on early childhood care and education in the 90s and into the 2000s until he was replaced. Worked on the original 1991 tax, and I've been on the Kids First Board Financial for 40-some years since it came in. So I do have a little background with this. And I had the same concerns today that we had 43 years ago. That's no surprise to anybody, but the challenges are real, very much so to children and to their parents. And as Patty said, you had 2 in childcare. I had 3 in childcare at one time. I mean, it's a challenge, I can tell you. But as an employer, there are real costs to the employer. And, not only the turnover, which has been mentioned many times, but to have an employee who can go to work and have the mental assurance that their child is in a safe environment and they're well taken care of, that makes them a better employee for me. The costs are very real. And I can say that I know we lose 2 to 3 employees a year who say, I'm pregnant, I have to leave. I personally, just in summation, I think that, quality early childhood education not only creates a well-rounded child, but it creates a well-rounded community. We all benefit from those who have gone through the education system, who've come back here to live, and hopefully they can raise their families also.
Thanks, Mary. Good to see you.
Thank you.
So this is a public hearing. May I open to public comment outside of CC?
You can.
Wonderful. Thank you for the permission. And state your name, sorry.
Lene Hansen. I am a consultant to the CC Coalition.
Yeah, good to see you.
Good to see you again. Thank you. And I am here to wrap us up, and then there may be others who wish to speak. But I did want to say we had come to you today, and we really thank you for all of the time you have given us today and in this special session. Evidently, my slide up there doesn't want to change, but we had 5 things we had to prove to you today. And now we want to just recap those and make sure that we've proven them to you. So the first was that there is sufficient current and projected need. I'm not sure anybody in this room wants to question that. There is definitely a lot of need out there. The second is that the existing service is inadequate. We showed you that through both the gap in the amount of slots and also in tuition dollars that are unavailable and causing our families to have a high cost of pay out of their budget. The third was that the district will be able to provide sufficient services. We've outlined what would look like a typical year for the district in year 2. We did spend some time after your work session with you going over exactly what that financial plan really looks like. I've also put those slides that we went through in the appendix, so if anybody else wants to review that, I'm also happy to go into more of that today if you would like to go over that financial plan. Third is a discretionary criteria, and it's that adequate service will not be able to be provided by other governments. We've gone over that. And then the last one is that this is in the best interest of the area, and you just saw many of our folks come up through public comment to talk to you about how important this is for your community.
I am also, because I am the consultant, and I'm here with my business partner, Cody Belsley, right behind me. We have done this in many communities across Colorado and even across the nation, help them sort of come up with plans like this, all the way from the Denver preschool program to other communities in Colorado. And we've worked with these folks since 2017 on putting this together. It has been very much I don't have children, so this has been a little bit of my own baby coming together. And so I'm also here to answer some of the trickier questions because I spend my life running political campaigns. So I will jump into your questions if that's
That's double taxation.
if that's okay. So what we have seen is we have actually done a fair amount of public research in each individual community and also across the district as a whole. And most folks have not seen it that way. What they have seen is that there is a very huge need and we haven't yet met that need, and there needs to be more dollars invested. And so we actually, in our polling, specifically asked because not only is there Aspen Kids First, but there is also the statewide UPK that comes through the cigarette tax or the nicotine tax. Sorry, it grew beyond cigarettes, nicotine tax. And there was very, very, very little concern by any voters over those sort of, they see them as additive and not duplicative. And then also you talked about how we would work with Kids First, and they talked about that a little bit. But this is seen as growing the pot. There is still a lot of things that Aspen Kids First would love to do that they don't have the funding to do. This is the opportunity for that additional funding to come in and help make their programs even stronger. So that's part of why they've been a part of all of this, along with many other folks who work up and down this valley, because they see how this will add to what they're doing, not duplicate or sort of subtract from what they've been doing, but that there's so much more that still needs to happen.
Can I respond to that real quick? Just real quick. Just so you know, not only have I lived in this community for 45 years, I've been on this board for 23. So I've heard this brought up, this double taxation, at this level more than once. It happens in this community, even though I know this community supports childcare and supported that childcare tax. I'm just saying that it'll come up. And it'll come up maybe with voters and maybe with other elected officials or whoever, people who don't vote here but pay sales tax here. So I was just trying to make sure that we have a good way of not just saying it hasn't come up before, but saying we understand your concern and this is why it should still be supported with the issues that I don't disagree with what you said. I just know from my own experience and the time that I've spent living here and sitting on this board that it comes up,
Absolutely.
as we know.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You also asked a couple of others. One was talking about whether we would look at two parents working. The one thing that is included inside of our service plan is that it would be a sliding scale based on income. And so that doesn't address whether you're looking at two parents or one parent, but it is intended to more support those who need more need. Or who have more need. Sorry, that was a miss.
I got it.
The larger the need, the more the support. And so outside of that, we felt it was really important to allow this board to come in and really make this proposal work for this year, for next year, for 10 years down the road when things may look different. And so that's to that part. And then 25 versus 26. I think actually that one might not have been yours, but I still have it on your list.
That wasn't mine. That was Sheriff's.
Sorry, that was yours. And it's because you know how I'm going to answer this. And so we are actually looking at 4 different criteria. Actually, we have one big criteria we have to get through, and that is only you left. This process of going through all of these boards of county commissions is actually a very lengthy process and took a lot of work. We are almost at the end. We hope we get your yes and move forward. After that, our coalition will be coming back together to consider 4 things before deciding whether to go forward into an election of either 25 or 26 or frankly, period. Those 4 things are going to start with first, we will go back out and repoll.
Go back to what?
Go back out and repoll.
Oh.
Do another poll. And that is because the environment we are in right now changes constantly. And so we need to poll as close to Election Day as possible to have a better read on where folks really are and where they're feeling economically and if they're comfortable enough to be able to see an increased tax. The second is we are also looking at what else may be on the ballot. And we're doing a study right now calling through all of the various cities, counties, special districts, fire districts, all of them to try to figure out who else is looking at the ballot. most people aren't set yet, so it's still a little bit of a guessing game. Because this has to go to court, we are way out in front of everybody else on their timelines because we just don't get to go this on the ballot the same way as most folks. And so we will have to use a little bit of guess, but we are trying to get some really educated guesses around that. The third,
Can I?
Yeah.
Please.
And I see Ingrid's here. Isn't there, and John may be able to answer it since he's sitting at the table, isn't there a June, I want to say, that you at least have to express an intent to put a ballot question on in November? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Which June is like tomorrow.
Late June.
Late June, oh, it's a long way away then. Just because, so things are kind of, I know the school district's now talking about a possible, we're talking about one for 2025, so, but I think June will give you,
yeah, it's towards the end of June.
yeah, and so you guys will have
And
to
then
make that
we
decision.
have to be at court by July 1st. So we have a tight time frame, but also one that we feel pretty confident we can continue working within. But this is part of why they only have to decide if they're interested. So you can say, hey, we might be interested in putting something on in June. By July 1st, we're kind of into the point of we have to know if we're going or
Well,
not.
you would have to put something in June also if you were thinking about.
It works a little bit differently because we go through the district court. But yes, we would still be giving the counties some ideas. And Nate can come back up and speak to that as well.
Ingrid's
if we
got her
need
hand
legal.
up, and I'm gonna look at the
Ingrid,
chair.
if you could join us for the mic for Jay.
Thank you,
Sorry.
sorry, Jeff.
Thank you.
It's just the intent. I mean, you don't have to have
No, but they still have
certified
to bring you something
language.
in June.
The language is beginning of September, but yes, at the end of, I think, don't
It's
hold
okay,
me to
just-
this, 27th, I think is the date. And that we would, an intent letter, but that can say probably also, I believe.
I just want to make sure that you don't, if you're saying you're going to district court in July, you still have to submit a letter of intent the end of June.
Oh, there are so many things we
I
have
just want to
do.
make, because I don't want you to miss that window, just in case.
Yeah,
Thank
if I
you.
pulled down this slide and put up our timeline, it's amazing because of trying to coordinate between three counties as well as a bunch of municipalities.
Right.
We've got a lot of deadlines, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, the third thing is actually whether we are able to fund a campaign. We are only looking to do this once. This is not a let's put it on the ballot and see how it goes. This is we're going to put together a well-funded campaign and make sure we have the resources to do that to win the first time. And then the fourth criteria, you've heard several people say that this was a community-developed proposal and it is being run by the community, and we will be going back to our community to say, is this still where we want to go and what we want to do? And so that is sort of the four criteria we will still take into consideration. We are on a timeline to be able to allow us to 25. We are also able to sort of postpone a month and move us into a 26 election. So I think I got all the questions. If
You
I
got
didn't,
mine answered,
okay.
I don't know about anybody else. I mean, I'm good.
Greg or Francie, any further questions?
Only that you might look at 25 and find it really daunting to put it on the ballot, only to find that 26 is worse. So I don't want you to,
That was
you
real
know.
positive.
Well, I mean, I think we're all thinking this, like, what would be better? The school district's thinking about it. Everybody is. So good luck to you. Don't let it slow you down. Whatever it's going to be on there anyway, and I can't help but think that it's going to be a tough decision either way. It's not going to get easier choosing going to 26. Maybe it'll give you a little more time to breathe. So just looking at your budget very quickly, I look at it and I say, okay, you've got a $20 million gap. This is going to fill 10 of it. What are you guys going to do? What happens next? I didn't get if there's another 10 million coming from somewhere else. I don't know. I didn't hear that. And so I'm wondering, what is this budget you've brought us?
Well, so right now that is actually the parent share.
Projected cost.
So right here, you've got the parents paying 7%, and then this little box that just shaded is that additional 10 million, and so they would be paying 10 million over that 7%. So we're still asking parents to pay in more than sort of the national guideline.
Okay.
Bringing down the
thank you.
percent of their income they pay.
Well, we're bringing it down from
now.
30%.
30 down to 17 is what, or whatever that comes out to. Is that?
Yeah.
Whatever we can bring it down.
Thank you. I was just kind of looking at that thinking, well, okay, it seemed arbitrary to me, but maybe not. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and it's frankly, it's because if we were to look at a sales tax higher than 0.25%, your percentages of passing decrease, right?
Oh,
The larger
right.
the sales
Okay.
tax, the harder
Sure.
it is to pass. And so it's a little bit of finding this balance between what we would love to see is, a fully funded versus what we can reasonably pass.
Right, copy that. Thank you.
Please,
And
Patty.
the state allows you then to like Snowmass is maxed on sales tax, correct? But this, like the Healthy Rivers and Streams allowed you to go over that max cap.
So that cap was actually removed by the legislature.
Okay, so
and
that,
it is
there's no cap
completely a
on sales
policy
tax anymore?
decision. Yeah.
Okay, when did that happen?
Well,
It must have been when I wasn't on the board.
We're dating that back up. It was a while back, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, Jeffrey.
So,
I-
Greg.
I was just gonna say, we haven't gone to public comment yet, but it occurred to me this whole presentation would have been much shorter if you just brought in the people who are against the whole thing. 'Cause I think, I've not heard of anyone who thinks this is a bad idea. There's so much positive public support. I'm really encouraged by this, and you did a great job, and it was worth sitting through all of that wonderful info.
Thank you. Sorry it was so long because we were trying to prove those 5 points. We wanted to make sure we were.
You hit it,
Doing
you
it.
got
Yeah,
it,
doing it there.
but we haven't heard the rest of the
Maggie,
public
this is
comment.
a second hearing. Are you okay if we open to public comment outside of your list?
Yes.
I thought
These are all the
I
ringers.
thought they were public comment. I didn't know they're all.
These are ringers.
These are paid actors. So,
Very convincing.
It's in their budget.
so anyone online on the workplace, you're welcome to raise your hand and we will take public comment. Anyone in the room is welcome to join us at this fancy dais thing. Any other speakers in the room?
Thanks, Ingrid.
What's that hand up?
Thank you for the clarifications.
There already.
You can join us. Anyone looking to make public comment online? You're all here for aircraft and water.
That would have been such a short meeting had you gone the other way.
Excellent. Any further questions or
We still
comments?
have a ways to go. We're not done yet.
Any further questions or comments for Maggie and her half of the room? I would say as board chair, thank you for the individual meetings and follow-ups. Valerie, going back to Q3, Q4 with Maggie and getting this board up to speed, both in terms of the numbers and in terms of what you're looking to do in the Valley. So personally and professionally, I'd love to see the Valley as a leader in housing and in childcare. It would be pretty amazing for our workforce. So thank you for all of your efforts.
So, Mr. Chairman, are you closing the public comment?
So seeing no hands, looking at Abby, seeing no hands online, and that's not a hand, that's just like, no hands in the room. We are closing the public comment. We're bringing it back to the board for further discussion, debate, and/or a motion.
I'll make a motion. To approve the service plan for the Confluence Early Childhood Development Service District.
I'll second.
I'll third.
I'll fourth. Any further discussion?
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much for your time.
Well done.
Thanks.
Thanks,
All right,
everyone.
now the work
Congratulations.
begins, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Does the board need 45 seconds to stretch before we go to Brian?
I could go fill my water up. Yeah.
I'd like to
So,
take more than
Jay-
45 seconds, please.
Jay, we're taking a 2-minute break for water, and we will come back with Brian.
No. 2 minutes, that we barely.
Welcome back. It is March 26th, about 2:15 p.m. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of County Commissioners of Pitkin County, Colorado. We have virtually with us on the workplace Brian Pettit. And for those of you following along at home, we are on individual consideration items. Second reading, the IMRPC.
Yes.
Please.
Thank you. I'm Brian Pettit. I'm the Public Works Director for the county, and this is an IGA for Pitkin County to join the Intermountain Transportation Planning Region, which is an arm of CDOT through an IGA, which helps plan and prioritize regional projects and provide funding from through that entity. There are 15 TPRs, Transportation Planning Regions, in the state of Colorado. The Intermountain TPR is made up of Summit, Pitkin, Lake, Garfield, and Eagle counties. There are 30 entities, 30 government entities that are part of this IGA. We have a TPR meeting in April in which these IGAs will coalesce into the TPR as we know it. So this is a step we've done in the past, and we haven't done it for a few years now, but the TPR is important to Pitkin County because it keeps us at the funding table to promote our projects regionally. So from a staff recommendation standpoint, is to approve this IGA on second reading.
Questions for Brian regarding the IMTPR or the IMRPC?
No questions for me.
No questions.
So this is a public hearing. It is a second reading. We have 8 participants on spring break on the Zoom workplace. Any public comment? At this point, I'm closing the public hearing. Bring it back to the board.
I will make a motion to approve an intergovernmental agreement to join a regional planning commission for transportation planning with the Intermountain Regional Planning Commission representing the Intermountain Transportation Planning Region. Thank you, Brian, for your short titles. We love them.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion by the board? At this point, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Brian.
Brian,
Thank you
so
very much.
Thanks for hanging on.
Thanks.
We are moving to the seat. Captain Treat, thank you for joining us. And thank you for the City of Aspen for joining us and the Aspen Airport. So we're on number 11 on our agenda regarding the seat.
Well, thank you, commissioners.
Oh, no, absolutely. Thank you so much, Diane Jackson, Deputy Airport Director. I'm joined with Andrew Treat, our captain of our fire department, as well as Aaron with Aspen Water District.
And Diane, I need to make one correction. You're interim airport
I
director
am. I'm
now.
sorry.
Yeah.
I do have another title on my hat now. Dan is joining us virtually, but said we've got this, so no worries. If you want to, let him join, we can.
I just want to see his backdrop on his Zoom meeting.
Oh, I warned him that he might be elevated. Oh, here we go. So yes, he had said that he's happy to join today for us as well, but I'm going to let Andrew take it away for this. This is the second read. We do have the presentation available if you all would like to see it again. But really, we're here for questions for you for the seat base.
Yep. Well, thank you for having us, commissioners. Once again, this is the intergovernmental agreement that allows the Sardifield Fire Department, the Aspen Fire Protection District, and the City of Aspen Water Department to work together to bring state firefighting aircraft the ability to resupply with water at our local airport to support local wildfires and regional wildfires. So if have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, City of Aspen, for contributing water to the equation. Municipal water.
The important part.
Yeah, PFAS-free water.
I was just going to say, though, that Dan's got the water behind him, so if we run out of water, we can tap into some waterfall in Columbia or Oregon.
Portland, I think.
I was in Oregon, Patty.
Really?
Yep, Multnomah Falls.
It's gorgeous. Thank you. Nice to see you.
Likewise.
thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Absolutely.
Apologies that you were after a rather lengthy earlier second read.
It was a
You
very
should've prepared us
interesting
for that.
presentation.
I didn't know it was gonna.
Thank you. Any questions?
Just regarding how large is the region? You may have covered this. I'm just wondering, how often are we going to see them? If there's a fire in northern Colorado, Mike says we're not going to see them.
Probably not. I'd say, if I had to do an educated guess, it would probably be like our county and any surrounding counties.
Garfield, Gunnison area.
Yeah, and that would only be during off season as well. You know, once like the 3-month window of actual declared wildfire season, they'll have the base and Rifle open. They'll have the base and Grand Junction open, and at that point, we'd only see the aircraft. It was a very local fire, like a Lake Christine type event. But on the off season, if there just happens to be one, kind of like the Grizzly Creek fire a number of years ago up in Glenwood Canyon, we could have potentially seen something during that. So I don't think it would be something, you know, too large, and I don't think it'll happen too often, but we still would be a pretty critical resource for the western slope.
And I'm assuming other airports are doing the same. Are we the only one?
We'd be the only one.
Oh, really?
We'd be kind of be a bit of a trailblazer. The state has kind of talked about talking with some other airports, particularly a couple on the Front Range, but we'd really be the trailblazers on this one.
And that's because of our general location, I suppose.
I think our general location and our staffing model, both between the fire department at the airport and the career fire department at Aspen. You know, we have the resources already we have to have people to staff the base, and the airport and Aspen Fire, we're already there, so.
As opposed to a smaller little regional airport.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Makes sense.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Aaron, anything to add?
I don't have anything to add. We're just excited for the partnership, and it's a really creative idea presented by Jake and led by Andrew. So
wonderful.
It has been a great partnership
Excited to
with both
assist.
Aspen Fire and Aspen Water.
Can I diverge to a different topic just very quickly, since we have Aspen Water here? Would you like to make a public service announcement really quickly about your event tomorrow?
Oh yes, actually, I think is it the 27th or the 26th?
It's the 27th.
Okay, thank you for knowing the schedule better than I. Yes, the utilities department is hosting a kind of get to understand how to catch a leak in your home event, and that's being held in the police station public community room. So there's going to be a presentation on how you can use the intelligent metering infrastructure that's deployed throughout the city of Aspen's water customers, and use that resource to understand if you have a leak within your home, as far as, you know, staff within the utilities department to contact if you have questions. So thank you, Patty.
And the first 20 people that show up get a free leak detector.
Correct.
A free leak detector test kit. So thank you, Jeffrey. I just thought we'd take advantage of that, since we are looking at ways to conserve water and be able to use it if we need it for fires, or to be able to use it if we need it just to drink.
So any other questions
Thank
for
you.
Diane, Captain Treat, or Aaron, or PSAs?
No, I think I'm done with PSAs. I was going to give her the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thanks again for your time this afternoon.
Absolutely,
At
thank
this
you.
point, I would look for a motion.
No, it's a public hearing.
Gotcha!
I knew we'd get him at least once.
We almost made it.
I would look
were
to see
doing
if
so
anyone on the
well.
workplace wants to raise their hand. This is a public hearing. I'm thinking there's directions for you to raise your hand on the workplace thing. Thank you.
If you're ready, I'll make a motion.
I need to close the
Oh, you haven't
public
plugged-
hearing.
oh,
You can no
gosh.
longer raise your hand if you're in the workplace. And then Greg, I would love a motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve intergovernmental agreement with the Aspen Fire Protection District and the City of Aspen for wildfire air tanker support and coordination.
I will second.
Further discussion. We just want to say thank you for coming
Thanks.
together, and thanks
Thanks,
for
Eric.
working
Didn't want to put you on the
collaboratively.
spot.
And thank you for the cool background, Dan.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioners,
Thanks.
for all your support with this.
Thank you. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Fantastic. Aye. Thank you for your time. Enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great to see everyone.
And did
so-
we hear that the big helicopter's going into Rifle, maybe?
First I've
We
heard
heard
of it.
No, no news yet. It's
I
still.
thought I heard it was going to Rifle.
Well, you may
had a
be
dream.
you may be ahead of the rest of us, but I think the RFI's request for information went in. I do understand that there was a proposal that was made, and
But
we're still
nothing's
waiting to
confirmed
hear
yet.
from.
Okay.
Yep.
Want to see
Thank you
that
so
big
much.
boy
Good to
flying
see you.
around here.
Thank you.
Connie's online.
Thank you. So we are moving on to number 12 of our agenda. It's 2:23 p.m. We are meeting with Connie regarding first quarter budget supplementals.
Good afternoon, board. Can you hear me okay?
Barely.
A little murky.
Oh. Okay. See if I can increase the volume.
Maybe your microphone is, which you're using the headset. Okay.
No. Is that any better?
It is. It actually does help when you hold it like that. But
Oh, okay.
sorry.
All right, good afternoon. On March 11th, staff presented their first quarter budget supplemental request to the board. So at that meeting, the board was able to ask questions and review the requests. I will just briefly mention each of the requests today. The budget resolution in front of you for second reading would increase the county's 2025 budgeted expenditures by almost 2.7 million. And an increase in budgeted revenues of 210,000 for a net increase to budget of 2,461,000. The requests include a Madison AI pilot project that's 31,000, and half of it is funded by a grant from DOLA. The parking lot management and monitoring at Buttermilk and Health and Human Services, that's almost $254,000. And then a procurement technician new FTE request within the finance department. And this position was a pending request during the 2025 budget process. For an Elk Lane housing unit, the electrification project, and that will be funded by a transfer from the REMP fund of $175,000. In the Human Services Fund, a Family Voice grant for $20,000, and that's a net zero budget request. Healthy Rivers and Streams, there's an increase to the Lincoln Creek Professional Services Study of $57,000. Then in the Airport Fund, two requests, $750,000 for the AOC retaining wall repair, and $1 million for a potential housing unit, employee housing unit acquisition. The last request is for a network management system, and that's split between the translator and public safety radio funds for $950,000. Does the board have any questions on any of these requests?
Patty?
Yeah, for the AOC retaining wall, you said something about a housing unit?
There is also a request for a new housing unit. This is an additional request
Okay,
that
because I
was
have my
added
old
in.
notes. Okay, so let me look at my newer notes. Okay, thanks, Connie.
So
Got it.
further questions from the board? So one question, Connie, is on Healthy Rivers. We were awarded a $100,000 grant from the Colorado River Basin. Does that show up in the supplemental, offsetting the increase in cost?
No, I have not heard about that. It will offset the cost within the fund, regardless of budget, but we need to appropriate the full expenditure.
Wonderful, thank you. Further questions, clarifications, comments, criticisms, witticism?
Public hearing.
This is a public hearing. This is the second
Love doing
reading.
that.
Second reading of the budget supplemental of Pitkin County, Colorado, approving first quarter budget supplemental requests. Looking for hands on the workplace. There's 6 potential hands. Any hands?
Can I ask what you mean when you say the workplace?
It's on the top of the screen, and he just has to read stuff
Called
like
the
that.
workplace.
I've never heard it called that before today.
I'm done with the free advertising for Zoom.
Yeah.
So,
You think people understand that they're in the workplace, those people who are waiting out there?
They're at home on their couch.
Yeah, really.
so for those of you on the Zoom that wish to raise your hand. So I'm closing the public comment, seeing no hands on the Zoom workplace. At this point, any further questions for Connie? Thank you so much for your diligence.
I'd like to make a motion if you're ready.
I would take a motion from Greg.
Approving first quarter budget supplemental requests.
I'll second. Thanks, Connie.
Further comments? All those in favor of the resolution of the Board of County Commissioners, Pitkin County, Colorado, approving first quarter budget supplemental requests, say aye.
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 Thanks, Connie.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Enjoy your afternoon. So our final public hearing, second reading, is an ordinance of the Board of County Commissioners amending or establishing fees for the Community Development Department. And Jeff, you win in terms of backgrounds.
Certainly beats our background.
Is that a real background?
Sorry, I couldn't be there today. I'm in Hawaii.
Yeah, we're sorry too.
We're so sorry for you that you're not here.
No, but his hair's not blowing.
Yeah. Something's up.
Well done.
That's excellent. And in the room we have Suzanne Wolf, who is not in Arizona.
Who does not have a special background. Thanks, everybody. Jeff and I are going to do our best to stand in Alex's shoes because he does a really nice job of this, but he's on vacation, so well deserved. This is second reading for the proposed fee changes that go along with the Energy Code amendments that you adopted 2 weeks ago. And I'm going to let Jeff do kind of the rest of it. Let's see. I'll advance,
Sounds good.
though.
Yeah, I'm Jeff Erickson, Chief Building Official. Thanks for having me. So March 12th, as Suzanne mentioned, we had the Energy Code adoption. You can see the incentivization table that we've developed. If you're all electric, not installing exterior energy uses, you're going to fall into one of these tiers. Tier 1, you're going to have the most incentive. And if you don't, if you're all electric and you're not installing any exterior energy uses, you're going to receive, a requirement for no solar or battery storage, an exemption for up to 5,000 watts of heat tape, and 1 prepackaged electric spa, an expedited permit review process, and the largest reduction in fees. Currently, we're at 2.7%, and we're looking at lowering to 1.6% for projects that fall into this tier. And then as you go up, you have a graduated fee schedule. Tier 2, 3251 up to 5750. Again, you'd have to be all electric, not installing exterior energy uses. You still get the 5,000 watts of heat tape, 1 prepackaged electric spa, the expedited permit review process, 2% fees. And then tier 3, also you get the 5,000 watts of heat tape, 1 prepackaged electric spa, expedited permit review process, and a 2.3%. If you're installing any fossil fuel, you will receive no reduction in permit fees. And then slide 4 is just a summary of that. Are there any questions so far?
Questions for Jeff or Suzanne?
I don't have a question regarding this. I just have a question that's kind of outside of it, but I'll wait. It's about the party tent.
Okay.
So, and then, and I guess Jeff and Suzanne, we said given the volumes in 2024 that roughly 12 homes would have applied to or been eligible to apply for the reduced fees based on this.
I do not have the exact numbers of homes. I don't know of any homes in tier 2, tier 3 that this would apply to, but the incentive is now there for folks to, not install exterior energy uses and then, incentivize, the all electric push here. The tier one, I think you're going to see, you know, more homes utilizing this incentive. So, and yeah, I would say maybe 4 or 5 per year in tier one currently, and that may increase.
Excellent. Questions for Jeff or Suzanne? Thank you to you and to Alex for all the work on the updates and bringing this forward.
Can I
Yeah,
just
thank you.
This is just clarification. I know we're not talking about this, but under the party tent fee, it says 3 days prior, you have to submit your permit, 3 days prior to the event date. Is that
Yep.
3 working days? I don't know. And I think that's more, is that you or Suzanne or?
That's just in the existing fee schedule.
Yeah, is it?
What the amendment is redlined onto the existing fee
Yeah,
schedule.
I know,
so
but
that's
I'm
where
just
that's-
asking
yeah.
just for clarification. Because I'd hate for somebody to, you know, have a party on a Monday and you guys have a
There are
weekend.
probably many other things we could and should update in our fee schedule. That would be one of them.
Okay, just to
clearly.
clarify that. what
And
that
I would
3
say,
days is.
for the most part, all of the tent companies, I mean, hopefully it's rare that they're showing up that late in
Yeah,
the
I
game
was
to
gonna
get
say,
their
but
tent permit.
I just want to make sure staff has time to actually review the permit. We can
yeah.
talk about it
Yeah.
later.
Yeah,
I just
they're-
happened to
they're-
read the back page.
Yeah, no, we were sort of narrowing this fee change to this specific. There are definitely other things,
Okay.
you know, whether it's building fee related or planning
We
that it could use a little cleaning up.
Okay, thanks.
But that's a good one to
Thank
flag.
you. I just read the back of the page and went, I wonder if that was 3 working days or?
Can't get through a meeting without talking about tents. Any other questions, clarifications, comments? This is a public meeting. We have 4 people on the Zoom workplace. Would anyone like to make a comment in terms of establishing fees, with regards to establishing fees?
Well,
I'm closing the public comments, bringing it back to the board. Further comments, questions regarding the ordinance and the second read?
I'll make a motion to approve an ordinance of Board of County Commissioners amending ordinance number 008-2017, establishing fees for the Community Development Department. This is our second reading.
I'll second it.
Further discussion by the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, and just so you're aware, based on the noticing for the Energy Code, it will go into effect on April 27th. We're going to be a day ahead of Jeff's birthday. But the calendar does change every year, so we
Hopefully
have to
he'll be back
adapt
from
to that.
Hawaii by
And then the
then.
fees will be in effect slightly after that, so,
right.
but just to put that out to the public as well.
Okay, thanks.
Great, thank you.
Great, thanks for having me.
Thank you, thank you, Jeff.
Open discussion? I just want to move us along. I don't know what, these big pauses make me wonder who's going to come rushing into the room.
So for open discussion, we have a letter that is about to go out in less than 24 minutes, or may have already flown.
Did just because we wanted to make sure.
And Allison Bektesh wanted to be aware of this because she's had press inquiries. And so hopefully this is on her desk as well.
So, for the board, it was not, we were coming up. Let me start over with my mic on. Sorry, grassroots. Yesterday, during the legislative update with Levi, the board had discussed generally the changes in NEPA rulemaking that were discussed, and the desire to put together a letter and set of comments are more general in nature related to NEPA, but would also be applicable to the specific rulemaking changes. It was not clear, they needed to be in by 3 o'clock Mountain Time, 5 o'clock Eastern Time today. So we took the liberty, specifically I took the liberty as staff to draft comments responsive to the discussion that we had yesterday. We did get these submitted. I believe that these comments are very much in line with past board positions and the discussion we had yesterday, but just wanted the board to be aware of that, and if there's any changes that the board would like to see. It may be too late for this specific rulemaking, but this is not going to be the only time we'll be commenting on NEPA, so we can, I would anticipate using something like this as a template for future comments.
I just have one comment.
Great, thank you for doing it.
Yeah, the letter's good, but did it go out on this letterhead? Because
This is kind of my fault, and we will get it on better letterhead. This was just a general letterhead template that I could easily convert into PDF while sitting here.
Because
So
I was wondering if you were trying to keep it very quiet that we were in Colorado. It says it at the very bottom, but
Yeah.
but the letter's good. You captured,
Right.
I think, the points we had made. So thank you, John, for getting it out.
And that's all I have for open discussion.
Francie,
Thank
open
you.
discussion.
Nothing.
I do. But did we decide on a letter supporting our public lands, preservation of our public lands? Kara, who, I don't think you were here at the meeting. Didn't we talk about that? And we were gonna, I think Kara, somebody was there, maybe Gary, we were gonna, I don't think you were here, Greg.
Last week?
I can check in with Kara.
Yeah,
I don't.
Jeffrey, do you remember? Weren't
I'm trying to think why we were discussing it, and I know at one point it was with Gary.
Yeah, so could you just follow up on that?
You bet.
Because I thought we wanted to get one out
It
there.
might have been
just-
one-on-one with Gary and not been a public discussion.
Yeah, but I thought we were gonna follow up, so if we could find out the status of that, that would be terrific.
Any other open discussion items? So it's 2:40 in the afternoon. Some of us can still get a few runs in.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Sure.
All those in favor of adjourning
All right, good job, Jeffrey.
the regular
Aye.
meeting? Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Rye.
Thank you, Josie. Thank you,
you, Josie.
everybody who's on Workplace.
The workplace.